All right, and we are 1 minute past the top of the hour, so we're going to go ahead and get started. For everyone out there joining on the LinkedIn live stream, thank you so much for coming to join the AOR Build Workshop today. So this is the third installment of a webinar series that we've done that's focused on automated operational reporting out of the ServiceNow platform. Today's session is going to be very heavily focused on the build side of the VividCharts product and how we can actually apply some of the concepts that we've been talking about, automating operational reports, but we're going to be really in depth in the product today. So we're really excited. So one thing I'll just call out as we get started here, we have members of the VividCharts team joining the live stream as well. So they're going to be monitoring the comment stream on the LinkedIn page. So please feel free to drop questions into the comment stream. Would also love to know where we're getting people. So if you drop in, where you're joining from, would love to kind of get some dialogue going in there. So we're going to go ahead and dive into the content, but definitely drop questions in there. They're going to be feeding those to me, and we'll make sure we address everything as we're moving through the presentation. Just to set the stage of what we're going to go through in today's workshop, we're just going to start by, again, setting the foundation, giving a little bit of background on who VividCharts is, what we provide in terms of automated operational reporting out of the ServiceNow platform, the path to value with the types of reports we provide out of the ServiceNow platform. And most importantly for today's session, we're going to spend a lot of time in the product actually building together and talking about how we apply these report types to add efficiencies, visibility, greater stakeholder buy-in with your ServiceNow reports. So this is kind of what we're going to go through today. So let's start by giving a little bit of background on who VividCharts is. For everybody out there that's not familiar, VividCharts is an advanced build partner in the ServiceNow Build Partner Program. So we provide a plugin that lives directly in client ServiceNow instances, and our platform provides automated operational reporting that's directly tied to your ServiceNow data. So because VividCharts lives directly in the client instance, we don't have to pull data out, build any integrations out, store data outside of the ServiceNow platform. Everything is safe and secure in your ServiceNow environment. And we're going to step through some of the report types that we automate for ServiceNow customers today. But everything is nice and safe and secure from within your unique ServiceNow environment. So really important to kind of understand that at the start here. VividCharts does provide reporting solutions horizontally across the ServiceNow platform. You're going to see a lot of SPM and ITSM content today, but our chart library and our product can really be pointed at any type of data that lives in your ServiceNow environment. So applicability across the board, no matter what you're using the platform for, and everything lives directly in your ServiceNow environment. If we just pull the lens out a little bit and just kind of talk about the problem that we're solving with and for ServiceNow customers, it's all about what are the meaningful business reports that we use in our operational cadences. So what we hear from ServiceNow customers and what we survey and collect data on an annual basis is that 97% of ServiceNow customers have to pull data out of the platform to create the meaningful business reports that they need. Now, most often we're going to places like Microsoft Excel, Microsoft PowerPoint to get very specific reporting formats that that have a purpose for different operational cadences that we have. So these are the types of reports that you're going to see, demonstrated in the product today that we really point our product at, and it really complements the tool sets that ServiceNow is providing as a platform as well. So at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is take this 97% and give you the easy button, right? Standardize the format, build it once, and then have it automated and pushed out of the platform so you don't have to think about it. It's on autopilot from there. So this is what we're trying to achieve, automation across the board for all of your meaningful business reports. Now, everything you see from a conceptual standpoint that we're going to talk about here in the slides, but also from a product perspective, what you're going to see in the workshop has been built with and for ServiceNow customers, that have made the investment in VividCharts. So we work with a number of really large organizations that have helped guide us in this problem that we're solving around automated operational reporting, and the product that you're going to see. So wanted to call that out up front. We appreciate the partnership of all the organizations that are working with us today. So all the concepts you're going to see today have been operationalized by ServiceNow customers that are just like you. So just wanted to call that out and give a note of appreciation there for the customers that we are working with today. And let's start to step into the concept of automated operational reporting as it relates to the tool sets that ServiceNow is providing out of the box as a platform. So, on the left-hand side of the screen and on the right-hand side of the screen, we have ServiceNow out of the box reporting, and then the analytics tools that ServiceNow is providing as a platform. Those are really great starting points and great foundational layers for reporting on your ServiceNow data. But as we saw in the prior slide, it's not covering every single report type that we need operationally to present our data, to distribute our data, to get our data formatted in the way that our business needs. So this center bucket is what VividCharts is really focused on, and we call that automated operational reporting. So it's taking those operational reports that are likely being produced manually today in places like Excel and PowerPoint and giving you the easy button so it's standardized, automated, and you're not sacrificing whatsoever on what the reporting output looks like, and how consumable it is. Now, as we kind of look downstream from these reporting formats, what are some of the outcomes that we see and hear and feel from customers as they implement these types of reports and automate them? First and foremost, it increases your ServiceNow user adoption. By automating standardized reporting outputs, you drive more visibility for your stakeholders, you drive better data quality coming into the platform because the reporting outputs are automated. So you're really aligning the incentives for your ServiceNow users by automating reporting outputs and providing more transparency out to stakeholders so that you can ultimately be more agile and take a more strategic approach to your business planning. So as we start to look and get tactical in the workshop today, the types of reports, keep in mind these three really big picture outcomes that we're driving as a part of the automation effort. So this is what kind of lies on the other side of standardization, automation, and distribution of your operational reports. Now, as we start to step into the product, we're going to structure this around three key report types that we can build in the VividCharts platform that all serve a very specific purpose, again, customer driven here, with real use cases for different operational reports that organizations typically use. The first of these is going to be advanced dashboards. So when we get into the workshop, which we're going to do next, this is where we're going to start. So advanced dashboards are really that more self-service type of report where in the moment you might need to run a filter on a given dashboard to answer a question that the business has. So advanced dashboards are kind of the starting point and the foundation for the next two report types. And it's more that self-service report type. So we're going to start there in the workshop. From there, we're going to step into the second report type, and that's what we call slide deck automation. Now, this is a scenario where you may have the charts and visuals that are needed for your monthly and quarterly reporting cadences with executive teams, but you need it in a very specific format. So this is where we see a lot of customers copying and pasting information from ServiceNow into PowerPoint presentations, maybe screenshotting specific charts and reports and putting them in PowerPoint. So with an automated slide deck in VividCharts, we can take what we love and is so valuable about an advanced dashboard, but put it in that automated slide deck format so that we can present in a really efficient manner without having to manually put that deck together on a monthly or quarterly basis. So second report type we're going to look at is automated slide decks driven by ServiceNow data. Okay. The third report type we're going to look at is actually oftentimes paired and complements those automated slide decks. And this is what we call scaled report generation. And with this concept, you can take really high visibility records that live in ServiceNow. So you could consider a major incident, a problem root cause analysis, a project that's high visibility internally. You can standardize a nice summary report for that record type and produce it at scale for all of the records in the system, and ultimately package those up to end up in your automated reporting cadences with executives and key stakeholders. So oftentimes these two reporting concepts are kind of going to weave together as a part of a reporting cadence. So we're gonna demonstrate that in the workshop as we're building and kind of tie some of these concepts together. Okay, so we've now flipped over into the UI of the VividCharts product here. So you can see we're just in a VividCharts ServiceNow instance, but this is the home page of the VividCharts reporting platform. And we're going to step through three different report types: the advanced dashboards, the automated slide decks, and scaled report generation. And we're going to do it in that order. So the first report type we're going to look at is going to be an advanced dashboard. And to do that, I'm actually going to just drop the name of a dashboard I prepped for the workshop today in the search bar. And it's going to be this service desk dashboard that we're going to use for our AOR workshop today. So I've searched for that in the VividCharts UI here, and I'm going to go into the editor first. And within the editor, this is going to be the same interface that you use to build out any of the three report types. This, you can just see right off the bat, all of the real estate on this specific report type is taken up by charts, which is going to be typical in that dashboard style report. Now, as we're just kind of getting a feel for what it's like to work in the editor, everything you see here is really easy to position, drag and drop. So a lot of flexibility on what things look and feel like, and also how the dashboard is actually, laid out to be really consumable for your end customer. So you're seeing a completed state dashboard here, but just to get started in the workshop and start to build out a few charts together, we're going to go ahead and delete this chart in the top right corner and add something that gives us even a little bit more context. So this chart currently is showing how many incidents have we had open on a monthly basis, trended over time by month. So a useful chart, no doubt about it, but oftentimes what we want to see from a service desk perspective is the backlog growing over time. Are we keeping up with the pace and the volume that we're getting from our end customers? So we might want to take this chart and add a little bit more information to show closed tickets as well. So to do that, let's go ahead and delete this chart. And we're going to go ahead and create a new chart and add it to this advanced dashboard here. Now, for this chart in particular, we know we're going to want to show incidents that have been created as well as closed. So we're going to plot two different condition sets of data on the same chart. And the first thing we're going to see, regardless of the chart that we select, is just a flow that's going to take me through what I need to do to create my chart. So for a combination chart, we're going to add a chart here. And the first thing we'll do is select what type of chart we want to plot. So for this type of visual, it's really useful and consumable if we use what we call a vertical timed bar chart. So we'll select that. And then if we click this pencil icon here, that's going to take me in to actually choose what data I want to plot within the chart. So we're going to be looking at incident data. So for that, we're just going to choose table as our data source. But you can also see here, we can pull from database views, report sources, performance analytics data that the system is collecting. And we even have the ability to custom script data collection. So that gives us even more flexibility here. But a lot of what we're going to do today is just going to be looking at our standard tables within ServiceNow. So for this chart, we're going to pull from the incident table. So I'll just type that in here and make that selection. And when I click save, it's going to take me to our data chart options for this specific chart. So this is where I get the ability to condition down the data if I want to group it by a specific time frame. And this is also where I'll start to select what I actually want the chart to visually show. So for this specific chart type, we do want to show a count. We have the ability to do different aggregate types within the VividCharts chart library here. And we can start to see which fields are required here. So we need to pick a calendar type. So we have the option to choose a standard calendar, or we can plot this by a certain fiscal period that you have configured in your instance. So that's really useful in the project management suite. For this incident report, we're going to choose a standard calendar. And as far as the date range, we're going to group this by month. So let's look at the last 6 months of data for incidents open. Now, once we've selected that, we just want to match our trend type to the date range. So we're going to look at the last 6 months of data here. So we're going to trend that by month as well. And the last thing that we're going to do is just choose which date field do we want to use to plot this data. And for our first data point, we want to know how many incidents were created in a given month. So I'll go ahead and choose created as our date field. Now, the last chart option I'll select here is to make this clickable. This is a chart option that's available on every chart within the library. And it's really useful if you're going to be publishing reports or data out to users that maybe don't have that fulfiller access or access to the underlying data. So we can turn click-through off for those users and still publish reports out. But we can allow drill down into the underlying data if we make this clickable. So let's go ahead and do that for this chart. So we've assigned all of our configurations here. So I'll go ahead and click save. And the next thing we're going to do is plot our second data point on this same chart. And that's going to be how many incidents did we close in that same time period. So first thing I'll do is I'll match that vertical timed bar. So we're going to visualize the data in the same format here. And I'll click the pencil icon and just go through that same flow. So I'll select table. I'll choose the incident table, click save. And you'll notice we're going to just pre-populate the consistent aspects of the chart. So the calendar chart or the calendar type is going to remain the same date range and trend type. And what we'll do for this is we want to show created and closed on the same chart. So let's choose the closed at date field for this specific chart. And we'll make this clickable as well. So once we've done that, we'll go ahead and click save. And if I click save one more time, the chart is then going to be created and sit directly on our dashboard where we can start to size it up and place it precisely where we want on the dashboard. And we can also start to apply styling and different visual aspects to the chart to make it match the rest of the dashboard. So now that I have my chart created here, I'll go ahead and open up what we call the style menu. And that's where we can start to match it to what the other charts on the screen are looking like. So just from a title perspective, we can give this a title and we can say incidents created versus closed last 6 months. So now that we have our title created, you'll see it show up there on the chart. And let's say we want to center it just like we have on the other charts. We can make it bold, we can underline it. We can also modify the text color. So we give a lot of control over what, giving full control aesthetically over what these charts are going to look like. But for this, we're just going to want to match it to what the other charts on the dashboard look like. So let's go ahead and choose a color palette for this. We're using the VividCharts palette on the other charts, so we can use that. We could also use, easily toggle that back and forth to use different palettes. And You'll also notice I have a number of different palettes in here from different demonstrations that we prepped. So as an organization, you can add your own specific color palette that matches your organization's brand. So you can really get a nice look and feel from a color perspective with those palettes. And then we can start to modify other parts of the chart here. So with these other charts on the screen, you'll see they have a nice white background. So let's go ahead and do that for our new chart here. I'll just choose the background color and we'll want to make that white. So now we're looking pretty consistent across the board. And if I toggle over to this other chart and just look at the title, we're at 32 pixels. We're not bold. So let's actually go back over here and we'll make that 32 pixels and not bold. So we're matching the other charts here. Now, each chart in the VividCharts library is going to have different sets of chart options that do get specific to that chart type. So something like a time series chart like this, it could be useful visually to show a grid. It could also be useful to maybe add a threshold line. So if we want to see, if we go over 750 incidents in a given month, we want to show that as a, as a threshold on the chart. So we can add that there. There's a lot of functionality here that we won't get too deep into in the workshop today, but each of these charts is going to give us the ability to do different things visually with whatever chart we've selected. So for this, let's go ahead and add the data values. We could add percentages if we want. And each chart is just going to give us the ability to kind of modify what it's going to look like visually on the screen. So we've now added a new chart to our dashboard here. The next thing we'll do is just let's save this and let's go into the viewer so you can see what this would look like for an end user. So I'll go ahead and click save. I'll publish this. So this is the end user experience of things that you create in the editor, and we call this the VividCharts viewer. From within the viewer, this is where we can, just see the charts and what the data is showing currently. This is where we could actually click and drill into the underlying data. So if I click that specific bar within the chart, so you can see here's all of the incidents that were created in February 2023. Now, ahead of the webinar today, I did add a few filters to this. You can see I've added filters for category, a time-based filter where we can look at certain create ranges. So let's just apply a couple of these. Let's say we want to look at cloud management, database, and hardware. So we'll select that. And maybe we only want to look at incidents that were created in the last 3 months. So to answer a specific question, all of the charts are now going to update on the dashboard to respond to that given filter. So again, a dashboard report type is more for those in the moment questions that you're getting and more of a self-service experience to answer those questions. So, to kind of start to step into the next report type, we're going to start to talk about some of the things that we mentioned in the slide deck. Okay, we love the self-service elements of a dashboard, but oftentimes as an organization, we're going to have, monthly or quarterly cadences where we're going to run operational reviews. And a lot of the information that we have on this dashboard might actually be useful in an operational review, but we need it in a very specific format. So that's where we end up copying and pasting into PowerPoint to ultimately prep for that review meeting. So within VividCharts, we can also create what we call automated slide decks. So with that, I'm going to click the V here and go back out to the home page of the application here. And I'm going to pull up our second report type. And for this, I also have a deck already created to give us a good starting point here. So I have this ITS review for our webinar today. And if I go into the editor, you're going to start to see a very different look and feel built for a different purpose than what a dashboard is used for. So this already looks and feels a lot more like a PowerPoint presentation. So we have, a title up here for information technology and services. This is our leadership report out that's going to take place on a monthly basis. And we're going to be looking for, looking back at the month of August as an example. Now, As I just start to page through, you can see we have multi-slide presentation capability here and different data points from ServiceNow all consolidated into a single presentation. So as I just start to page through, you'll see we can really structure these decks to kind of fit the storytelling that we're doing in these operational reviews. So let's say we start with portfolio and project metrics in our operational review. I've got a slide where we can start to layer on information about projects in the current portfolio. And we'll come back and just start to add charts to these slides and do a little bit of building together. But I'll just start by going through, the bones that we have in place here. And as we work with customers on automating these types of reports, it's pretty common to have an already existing PowerPoint template that shows you the look and feel that you're trying to achieve, but also the data points that you're wanting to present out. So as I page through, you'll start to see we get into service delivery in this deck as well, where we might want to look at a breakdown on our incident data. Maybe change data is something we like to present operationally. But again, any data that lives in your ServiceNow environment, we can get in these standardized operational reporting formats. To start to actually build this deck out, I'm going to show a little bit of automation that we have built into the product. And to do that, we can use what we call chart templates. So if I open up our charts menu here on the dashboard, we went and created a chart from scratch, which we could do with any of the charts in the library. But you also, as a customer, have the ability to use our out-of-the-box chart templates and also save your own chart templates. So if you have a chart that's used on a dashboard, for example, you could save that as a chart template and have it just appear on the automated slide deck that we're building with the click of a button. So if I just paste one of the chart templates that I have saved from a dashboard, and we'll just start with this ITS review by initiative type, I'll click that and it'll just add this chart to the dashboard, and it's already configured for me and it matches what's on our dashboard. So if I open up the data cog here for this specific chart, you'll see I have conditions already applied, only showing active projects. We're going to group by project type, and we just want a count of those projects. So once a chart template is saved, those conditions and those chart options that you have selected are just going to come right out of the box and already be applied to save you time. And as we start to build out our slide here, I'll just go ahead and start to add some additional chart templates, and you'll start to see the slide come to life and look a lot more like an operational review. So the next one we're looking at here is, breaking projects that don't have a demand currently, again, by initiative type. So the compliance has 5 projects that don't have a demand currently. And we have a lot of slides to populate, but luckily chart templates make it really easy to just, paste what we want in here, and we can just start to see the slide come to life with only a few clicks. So we don't have to rebuild all of our charts that we're already using in our dashboard report types. So automation here to save you time in just getting those same charts in this different presentation format. So we've added projects by phase that we want to show. We'll add one here for just a count of all the active projects in the system currently. Maybe we want to show the same thing, but just for active demands. So we have another score chart for those. And just a couple more to do here on this first slide. And just like that, without having to rebuild any charts, we populated a full slide that we can present and really drive a discussion off of in this standardized format. So again, this can look and feel different for every customer and what your conversations are driven off of on a monthly basis. But here's our first slide to just give a really far out lens of everything that's in flight and start to visually see what things are looking like. And then we can add additional slides here if we want to see, let's say we want to drive a discussion that breaks it down by the VP. So we can see projects by portfolio. We're seeing a little bit more of the VividCharts library here. So we have a stacked horizontal bar here. And maybe we want to see that same visual, but from a demand pipeline perspective. So we'll paste that in here. And now we've got a slide that really nicely lays out our projects and demands driven by the VP. Now, maybe the conversation in this operational cadence starts to go from what's everything that we have in flight more to a tactical conversation around, okay, what has gone live in the past 30 days and what does the next 30, 60, 90 days look like from a project go live perspective? So we can start to use this same concept and layer in additional chart types to drive that discussion. So now we're going to add a list chart to show us, okay, these are the 3 projects that have gone live in the past 30 days. So this is what has happened, and we can drive a discussion around that. From there, we want to take the presentation and start to look forward in terms of what has a go live date that's 30, 60, and 90 days out. And for this, I actually just, I'm going to use this same chart template here. Our project data doesn't have go live dates extending out, but from within the chart, you can just see, again, conditionally, we could condition off of the go live date to show what's coming up in the next 30, 60, 90 days. Normal chart search there. So if we search in chart templates here, we'll just start to populate the rest of this out. So next 60 days is here. And we have one for next 30 days. Finally, we have one for the next 90 days. And this rounds out a really good example of, what a driven discussion might look like on a monthly basis around the overarching pipeline of projects and demands broken down by initiative type, phase, VP, and then getting more granular at the project level, showing what has gone live and what does the next 30 to 60, 90 days look like. So from here, we can start to layer in, other metrics. Oftentimes, organizations we work with, the PMO works very closely with the service delivery organization. So we can then start to build out some slides that look at incident data, change data. So metrics that we want to show on from a service delivery perspective. So again, I've got chart templates here that we're already using in our operational dashboards that are useful via self-service that I can just add to the deck here to put it in slide deck format to really drive that standard review. So we'll look at open incidents by priority, open incidents by state. And again, if we look in the data menu for these, we're now pulling from the incident table. And we have our conditions already applied here. We already have our state as our group by selected. So making things really easy to port over from dashboards that we have in use. So now we have a nice slide that's breaking down the active incidents by priority, by state, and by group. For the next slide, maybe we want to layer some change data in there so we can do another time series chart that's going to show us how many emergency and normal changes have we had by month over the last 12 months. And the last thing we'll add here, and then we'll actually add a chart from scratch to show a little bit more of the chart library here. That chart that we added to the dashboard, we'll add that to the deck as well. So here's our trend, and this is going to show 12 months, tickets opened by IT and tickets resolved by IT. So in terms of what we had created coming into the workshop today, all the slides are populated now. So, in a very short amount of time, we've taken charts that we already use operationally from a self-service dashboard perspective, very quickly in just a couple minutes, translated that into a presentation format that can drive a monthly review. And now let's say we wanted to add a slide. So we started discussing in the last month's review, additional data points that we might want to see in this deck. So I could just make a copy of our last slide here. And let's say we want to show some different data based on where our conversation went in the last review. And maybe the conversation in the last review was around resolution times for major incidents, so priority 1 incidents. So let's start to show a little bit more of the VividCharts library here and some of the unique functionality we have within charts, and perform actually a cross-column calculation to show the difference between when a P1 incident was created and resolved, so we can see that time frame. So for this, we'll choose our list chart. For our data source, we're going to choose table. We'll search for the incident table here, click save. And then for a list chart, we can just choose our sort by and start to choose which columns we want to actually display in the list. So to drive this discussion, we probably want to see, the short description of the P1 incident. We want to see when it was created. We want to see when it was resolved. And maybe we want to do a date differential calculation between created and resolved. So we'll just add a column and we'll build a calculation into the list chart to actually derive data on the fly to show that time period. So I'll click save. We'll sort this by created. And let's say we want to make it clickable. Now, you'll also start to see as we choose different charts in the library, we have different chart options here. So oftentimes our reports are going to be exported to PDF or PowerPoint. And if we have a list chart that is scrolling in the browser, we might want to paginate it upon export. So the list chart is going to have that pagination capability here. We also have the ability to make these, the headers of the list chart sort by different columns based on just clicking the top of the column. So let's go ahead and select that as well. Once I click save, you'll see our chart show up here. And one thing we forgot to do is actually just condition this down to only show active incidents and incidents with a priority level of 1. So we'll add that condition down. And it looks like we chose the wrong field here for our resolution. So let's modify that and we'll make it closed because I know we have data for that. And click save. Oh, actually, got to get some better data in here for created versus closed. But now that we have our list chart here on the screen, you'll see we have columns that are displaying information. We have created and closed as date fields here. And if we want to do what we call those cross-column calculations, I can go into the style menu to do that. So within the list chart here, you can see we can conditionally format the columns here based on, priority level, status information. And this is also where we can build calculations off of what the data is showing. So for our empty column here, we'll choose our 4th column that's sitting there empty. And then let's say we want to call this total time. Within the UI here, we have the ability to just build our calculations out in a very no-code format. So let's say we want to do our close date minus our created date. Now, this is really useful across the board for different report types. Another common use case for this, in the project management space would be calculating a variance, where you want to, track variance on a given project or set of projects, so you can build those calculations So it's displaying a value that's being derived on the fly, but doesn't actually live on the record itself. So this opens up a lot of flexibility to drive more data around your discussions. So you can see we don't have a created and closed date on these specific records, but the total time would show up there for us. If we click publish and I go into the viewer experience that we were in for the dashboard before, and I just start the page through, you're going to see that standardized presentation format, but it has all of our charts added in here. So from a presentation perspective, we can drive that presentation directly out of the viewer. Within VividCharts, we have the ability to share this URL with specific users, groups, or roles. We can even toggle this share with all logged in users, and that would allow even non-fulfiller users who don't have a ServiceNow license to see what we're seeing here. So we can drive the presentation directly out of the browser from VividCharts, but if we want to, download it to a hard copy to combine data from other platforms, or maybe we just want to distribute a hard PowerPoint file coming out of the meeting, you can also download these to PDF or PowerPoint with a click. So everything in VividCharts, whether it's a dashboard like we started on, a fully automated slide deck, or scaled reports that we're going to look at next, all exports with a click to PowerPoint or PDF, giving you a lot of options in terms of distribution. We've covered the dashboard style report. We've turned that dashboard into an actual operational review that's formatted as an automated slide deck. The last report type we're going to look at is what we call scaled report generation. So it's really common in these operational reporting reviews to look at higher priority record types or high visibility records in more detail. So for example, if we wanted to, as a part of this reporting cadence, also look at a summary of all the priority 1 incidents that happened last month. Within VividCharts, we can create a report template that summarizes that record type, whether it's a P1 incident, whether it's a project that's high visibility, whether it's a problem root cause assessment. We can create a template, and I'll look at one for problem management here. So I'll go to our problem focus mode template and go into the editor. And you'll see this is laid out to really summarize a single record type, as opposed to on the dashboard and slide deck that we've been looking at, has the lens pulled out and it's showing data from many records. This is going to point to specific fields on that record, as well as the related lists. So from the problem record, this chart individually is going to be looking at the additional comments field. And within this, we can choose any field that lives on your problem record. So based on your process, you're going to be populating different data points on that record. We can choose any of the out-of-the-box fields that you have. If you've added any custom fields to your records, those would be accessible here. We can dot walk to get to different data as well. And it's all about what belongs on that standard report out to talk through the root cause assessment of a problem, the status of a current project or portfolio. And down here we have problem tasks. So if I just open the data cog here, you can see we're layering related information to the problem. So the problem tasks as well. So same build experience. So once you start to build in VividCharts, you can really quickly piece together these different report types and then use the automation capabilities of the platform that we provide to then scale the generation of this report that we're looking at. So this is summarizing an individual problem, but for our operational reporting cadence, we want to look at all of the problems from the last period, or maybe a very specific set of them that we want to drive a discussion around. So once we have this created as a template, we can actually apply this template to every record in the system. And to do that, we use what we call a summary page. So this was our template we were just looking at, the problem focus mode report template. If I want to look at our summary page, I'll click the pencil icon here. And as I scroll through, you're going to see these are all of the problems that we have in the system currently. So if I want to look at any one of these individually, I would just click the view button, and it's going to take me to the report out in our standard format for that specific problem record. So we're seeing only the data for this specific problem and the associated problem tasks. So again, we can view this individually. We can export this individual report out as a PDF or PowerPoint. But for our operational reporting cadence, maybe we want to look at multiple problems that occurred last month. So if we want to look at a few of these, I could just checkbox to select these, and I could open them up actually as a bundle. So if I see this open in viewer action here, I click that, and VividCharts is now going to bundle those 4 problem report outs in our standardized format and put them in the same presentation here. So we've got problem 1, problem 2, problem 3 in our single presentation here, where again, we can just pull this up in the browser, or we can export the whole bundle to PDF or PowerPoint. So we're looking at this from a problem perspective, but this is also a really common addition to a portfolio steering committee review for the PMO. If you're meeting with stakeholders, you can have an automated slide deck that gives a high-level overview on the composition of a portfolio, and then the single project statuses for maybe all of the red projects that are going to be, consuming much of the discussion. So you can start to see how we can tie together these different report types, ultimately to drive the conversations that you're having operationally and provide the automation that makes it easy, giving the easy button out of the platform. So the last thing I'll call out before we jump back into the slides and just kind of go into the Q&A and kind of wrap up here with 10 minutes left. This report type, we also have different distribution mechanisms for. So this report, we can also add a related link to the problem record or the project record. So you can click and get to this view directly from the record itself, because there are operational scenarios where that's needed. We also have the ability to set up automated emails. So maybe once a month, you want a link to each of the problems from last month to go out to a specific audience internally. Or maybe you're a project stakeholder and you want one email a week that gives you a direct link to all of the status reports for your projects for that given week, instead of getting 10 emails from them for 10 different projects with an individual status. So from a distribution perspective, we had the ability to get it in a shareable format in the browser, the ability to export it out to PDF or PowerPoint, but we also have the ability to distribute in these different ways via email on the record that fit different workflows and cadences. So I'm definitely getting some messages internally on some of the questions we're seeing in the LinkedIn comment stream. So that's going to wrap up our time in the product for the workshop today. So I'm just going to jump back over into the slides, and then we'll open things up to Q&A. But the first thing that we encourage you to do is just identify your existing key operational reports. Many of these I referenced throughout the workshop. So project status reporting, it's a weekly cadence, it's a bi-weekly cadence. Steering committee reviews for portfolios, incident problem reviews that take place monthly. For managed service providers, maybe you want to automate customer-facing monthly or quarterly report outs. So identify those key operational reports. If they're PowerPoint driven, today that gives us a really easy, just one for one to go off of to give you the easy button for it. So identifying those key operational reports is step one. Step two is building that business case. So how much time is being spent putting that together on that cadence? So for a project status report, if you have 80 projects, you're reporting status monthly, or you're reporting status weekly, and it takes about 30 minutes per. That's 40 hours a week that's just being spent manually putting those together. So you can really easily put together kind of the logical resource gains that you can, achieve through automating that operational report. So identify the key operational reports, calculate the amount of time that's being spent on those. And then we do consults all the time with different organizations who've identified these things. They have manual reports that they're building today, and they want to see it, they want to see the automated potential. So they'll book a personal demo. With VividCharts, we can assess the current reports that are being put together manually today. And we can actually, show you in the product a one-for-one off of those reports that are being put manually together today. So really easy way to think about it: identify those key reports, calculate the time being spent on it, and then prove it out. Prove the automation that you saw today. And we can do that through a personalized demo out of our instance or out of your instance. The last thing we'll call out here, just before we move into wrapping things up, sharing some resources and answering some questions. As we start to think about these two items, identifying key operational reports and calculating the resource spend on those, we also have resources available for organizations to really lay this out in a value-driven perspective. So a slide like this does a really good job of presenting the business case and opportunity through an automation effort. So again, if you have 50 manual reports that are being put together on a weekly basis for project status, if they're an hour a piece, those hours really start to add up. So, 2,600 overall resource hours on an annual basis, right? So this is the logic to justify it. And again, put those strategic outcomes at the forefront as well. We want to be more agile. We want a reporting process that scales. We want to drive more adoption of the ServiceNow platform. So put those outcomes at the forefront as well. Now, there are a few questions that we'll start to answer, but before we do that, just want to let you know about a few things that are up and coming and just resources that we have available. We will put these in the comment stream on the live stream page, but we have a really exciting event coming up October 12th that we're calling Real Time. And this is going to be a full one-day virtual conference that has 2 tracks. One of the tracks is going to be really similar to what you saw today. That's going to include workshops. It's going to include customer stories about examples of automated reports that have been achieved. And so there's going to be a lot of great content provided at this digital event. So we're going to post that registration to get updates as that's approaching. We're going to be starting to release some of the content that's going to be there, and we have some exciting speakers lined up for that. So we'll post that in the comment stream. You also have the ability to just book a demo or call with us directly on our website. We'll put a link in the chat as well for that. And then you also have an automated operational reporting guide that's available on our website that really nicely summarizes the overarching concepts that we talked about in the slides today, saw in the product today, and puts it in a nice guide format there. Wanted to start to work through some of the questions that we saw submitted. So one of the first ones we had is, can a corporation's branded PowerPoint deck be imported into VividCharts? So on that one, there is not a direct import that's just going to recreate it in VividCharts. However, you saw in the product demonstration today, putting together a one-for-one is not a ton of work. And once you've done that, you can really easily copy slides. So it doesn't take much time to actually, reproduce it within VividCharts, though there isn't that direct import function at this point. The second question that we had in there is there control accessibility for confidential or financial data? Absolutely. So VividCharts coordinates with your ACLs in your environment. So read access to the data lives at the user level. So different users are going to have different levels of access to the data, and VividCharts respects that. So if you don't have the ability to see a table in ServiceNow, you go to build a chart in VividCharts, you're not going to see that available to you. So VividCharts fully respects and coordinates with ServiceNow's ACLs. So you do have that control to, keep certain types of data confidential, which is controlled at the ACL level. We got another question in here. Is this available for all ServiceNow license types? Absolutely. So our customers have many different license types with ServiceNow and different functionality that they're using. We don't have any dependencies on the ServiceNow license type. So you don't need performance analytics to use VividCharts. Many of our customers have it and use it together, but there are no dependencies from a ServiceNow licensing standpoint when using VividCharts. All right, and I'm not seeing any more questions, and we're coming up on the top of the hour, so we're going to go ahead and close out the live stream here. Thanks again, everyone, and have a great rest of the day.